Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the 40 Acres Postgame Show here live. I am your host, Matthew Miller. We are brought to you by Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football on the Big 12 channel, and SG1 Sports on the Texas channel. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I'm here after every Texas game, every Saturday or Friday. We do have one Friday game. And then I am also here every Tuesday breaking down this game coming up and the game that happened a little bit. We start out with that. So I'll be going over the Kansas game. And then, guys, it is OU hate week. OU has not scored a point on us in a year. Let's make it two, hopefully. We'll see. They're obviously a lot better. But again, we're going to talk the Kansas game. But before I jump into that, guys, could you please do me a favor? Hit that like button, subscribe down below. Go over to the SEC channel that we're trying to grow. Hit that like button, subscribe to that channel as well. Go over. If you're going to go to a game, go to ticketsmarter.com. Type in code BIG10 or BIG for $10 off a purchase of $100 or more. You're going to spend $100 going to a college football game unless it's like Rice versus UAB. But I have a feeling most of you guys aren't going to those type of games. You're going to big time, good college football games. So go over there and type that in for $10 off 100 or more, or go over to Ticket Smarter and use code BIG20 for $20 off a purchase of $300 or more. Obviously, guys, you want to save money during these times. Everything is expensive. Why not save the money? And if you don't want to save it, you could take that money that you did save and then spend it at the game. Either way, just do it, guys. It helps out Mark, helps out the channel, helps out your pocket. Why not do it? So, guys, Texas wins this game 40-14. A lot of good, a lot of bad. Again, Texas they actually came out fast. The problem is they didn't execute at certain points in the second quarter, which kept that game close. Going into halftime, 13-7. We should have been up, honestly, about 20-7 at halftime, if not more. We ended up with 661 yards of total offense. So when you do that, you should score more points than we did, but we didn't execute in the red zone, and that is the one big factor to me that's going to hurt this team. That and a reliable field goal kicker. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Texas does not have that reliable kicker that we've had in the past, but we have to get better in the red zone. We do. I don't know if that's a lack of players down there. I don't know if it's a lack of play calling. I don't know what it is. Honestly, with the way we were running it today, we should have been able to run it in for a touchdown. We weren't able to do that. So that's something that we have to get better at, whether that be executing one-on-one on the outside, running more RPOs, running Quinn Ewers like we did late in the game there, I think would be a good option. You saw Quinn today run for 2 touchdowns. That's definitely a good thing. So Texas we need to get better in the red zone. So let's start out with that, or we'll start out with this, guys, first. The good. I think there was a lot good today. Running backs. You could say Quinn Ewers. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. But Jonathan Brooks, CJ Baxter. Jonathan Brooks, over 200 yards for the first time in his career. I think it's going to happen once or twice more while he's here at the 40 Acres. He is a good running back. He will play in the NFL. I said he'll have better stats than Bijan Robinson. I stand by that. Not because he's a better player, because the talent around him is better. The coaching around is better than Bijan had, other than his last year here at Texas. So that is why I believe that. CJ Baxter is going to be really good too. 16 carries for 68 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. He had a good game. Jonathan Brooks also had 2 touchdowns on top of the 200 yards. This was the first game, honestly, guys, this year we've been able to run in between the tackles. Most of our games, we've had to run off tackle to get our yardage. This was the first time we were getting a really good push between the center and the right guard. So good job by DJ Campbell. Good job by Jake Majors. Good job by Hayden Connor there on the inside. We were able to get pushed. We were able to run up the middle. That is very important going into Big 12 play, continuing into Big 12 play. Honestly, guys, I think this is either the best, second, or third best team on the that we play on our schedule. It's top 3 for sure in the Big 12, for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. It's either Kansas State, Oklahoma, or Kansas, or it's the second best team in the Big 12. We are the best team. And the thing that's going to stop us is us. It's everyone on our team, if we execute at the level we should be executing at with the play callers that we have on both the offensive defensive side of the ball, we should win. That is what's going to get us beat, is us, if we don't play to our level or in our standard. If we play to that, we're going to wipe the floor with every team in the Big 12. And I know Jalen Daniels did not play today. I was actually very excited to see him play. But the defense, another good job. I think they weren't as good today rushing, but they did a good job through the air. Jason Bean isn't a great passer, but he's not bad. Like, guys, if we're ranking quarterbacks, backup quarterback options, I think Kansas has a top 10 to 15 backup quarterback in the country. He's not bad. He could start in a lot of places. And and he was 9 of 21, 136 yards and a touchdown passing. He had a scamper earlier in the game where he's running down the left sideline. Catalan hits him, and it's picked up by, I believe, Highshaw. One of the running backs picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. That was insane that happened, but that is how Kansas scored their one touchdown in the first half. And then the second half was just a long touchdown. And honestly, guys, like, it's little things like that. Like, the first touchdown they had was luck. The second one was a breakdown in coverage on the back end. And that is how teams can beat us. Honestly, if teams are going to beat us, it's going to be multiple big shots down the field, attacking our safeties who are not great in coverage. But everything else is good. I trust our linebackers. I trust our defensive line. We just need to be able to contain those guys and not allow them to get behind the safeties. That's the biggest thing. But 23 carries, 130 yards for Neal, Highshaw, and Bean. 5.65 yards per carry. So that's pretty good. What they did against us for our standards, we were giving up like 1.9 yards per carry, which is insane. You're not gonna be able to keep that up for a year. We're not Georgia up front defensively. We are very good, but we're not the Georgia of the last 2 years. So I think we'll end up letting teams average about 3 yards per carry if we do go through the season. So Kansas did pretty well. 5.65 yards per carry isn't terrible. It isn't great, but this is the issue, guys. Coming to this game, third down was going to be a big deal, and Texas did a great job on third down. I believe Kansas was either number 1 or number 2 nationally in converting third downs. They were at 61% on the year. We held them to 0 for 6 on third down and 0 for 8 on fourth down and third down, guys. So great job by this Texas defense on the third and fourth downs. You kept them off the field. That's why the time of possession was like 40 minutes for Texas to like 20 minutes for Kansas. We just wore them down, guys, and that's the one thing about this Kansas team. If you just go starters for starters, like if you guys play video games, if you turn off the fatigue, Kansas is a very good team with their starting 22, 25 guys if you want to throw in a couple backups. But once you get past that, they're very thin. That's the problem that we talked about in it coming into this game, and also myself talking about them. I had them in the Big 12 championship, and why I had them, I thought they were going to get lucky breaks. I thought they were going to avoid injuries, and I thought if they had Jalen Daniels for 10 out of the 12 games that they played, they'd be able to win 9 games and be able to get to that Big 12 championship game. If Jalen Daniels does miss significant time, this team I still think wins 7-8 games, but they're not going to make the Big 12 championship game. They're just not. He takes that ceiling for them, guys. Like Jason Bean with this team's a 7-win team. With Jalen Daniels, they're a 9-win team. That's how good this guy is. He's either the best or second best quarterback in the Big 12. I'm really disappointed that we didn't get to see him today. But again, Texas did a great job for who they played. 0 for 8 for Kansas on third down and fourth down, on a team that converts 61%, and then turning it over to the other side of the ball for Texas, 9 of 15 on third down. It was a complete opposite. So whereas Kansas couldn't stay on the field, Texas couldn't stay off it. They were just on it constantly, time of possession, grinding them down. And that's the worst of both worlds for Kansas. You're a team that doesn't have much depth and you can't stay on the field. So your defense is constantly tired and we're just wearing you down, and you can't score points if you're not on the field. So they just got tired at the end. This is, like I said, if this game is played again, it'll be interesting to see the adjustments that were made. Maybe we'll see him down the road in Dallas and see if Jalen Daniels does play. He just has to get healthy. This team can still beat most of the teams left on their schedule. If he's healthy for Oklahoma and Kansas State, I still think we see them in Dallas. They're a very good football team. They really are, especially with Jalen Daniels. So that's going to be good. Now, guys, there were some bad in this game, and there really were, and we're going to have to talk about it because it can cost us a game. I don't know if it's going to be next week or Kansas State. Those are the two games that I'm worried about the most going forward. TCU is a maybe for me. We'll see how they go. The only reason that even worries me a little bit is because it's in Fort Worth and weird places happen there for us. So the bad for Texas. Bert Auburn, 2 for 4 field goal kicking. He missed one last week too. You have to hit these guys, man. You have to. Like, it's important. It gives, like, should we score in the red zone 100%? But you should be able to have a guy that's reliable enough to where once you get 30 yards and in, it's automatic. Like, you don't even think about it. Like Steve Sarkisian in the back of his mind, like, oh, we get to fourth down. Like, I can be risky with these 3 play calls and not try to just get a piece or 2 a yard here so I can get this guy in a range. This needs to be automatic in the back of his head. And now Steve Sarkisian is going to have to think about that. Like, if you're on the 27-yard line and it's 3rd and 7, instead of just handing it off, getting 3 or 4 yards and then setting him up for a field goal, if you need it, you're going to have to try to go for the 7 yards to get a first down. And that's a scary proposition to have that in the back of your mind with your kicker. So Bert Auburn's either got to improve or you got to look to Will Stone. You got to, because you can't allow a kicker to dictate your season. You can't. I've seen really good Alabama teams be disrailed by their kicker. Texas isn't even as talented or as good as those really good Alabama teams. And we can't allow Bert Auburn to dictate our season. We can't. So I think in leading up to this Oklahoma game, crazy things happen. If this comes down to a last-second field goal, I don't trust Bert Auburn. I really don't. Unless this is from 25 yards or less, I don't trust him. And that's just not acceptable. At the University of Texas, a kicker should be 85% 40 yards and in. And he's not right now. He's probably about 70. So it's got to be open up for a competition. The good part was we didn't muff any punts today, so that was a good job by Xavier Worthy back there. I could tell they were told, unless it's right to you, just let it go. I saw him multiple times where it bounced about 5 yards in front of him. He could have gone run up and caught it. He's like, screw it, I'm getting out of the way. Let's let this hit and go wherever it will go. I have no issue with that. Our offense is good enough to where just avoid disasters on that end. That's what I talked about going into the game. In that's part of the game. If they're going to kick it to you and it's like right to you, fine. But if you have to wait under it, run, just let it go. Our offense is good enough. We scored 40 points today. Our defense is good enough. They only gave up 14. Only one team's been able to score 24 points, and that's Alabama. Every team has been less than that. So, guys, we're good enough. This doesn't need to be great on special teams. It just can't cost us games. And at this point, Bert Auburn is getting very close to where he could cost us games because you can't go to a 4. And I believe one of them missed was like a 37-yarder. You can't miss that. You can't miss that. 40 yards and in should be automatic, basically, and it's not. So competition needs to be happening at that spot, in my opinion. I think Willstone needs to get a look. He really does. Because if this game, like I said, comes down to a field goal in Dallas, we could be in some trouble here, guys, and that's an issue. Another thing that was bad, Jatavian Sanders. That's a gigantic injury if he's missing a significant amount of time. I don't know if you guys caught the end of the Auburn and Georgia game, but you saw what Brock Bowers does for Georgia. Jatavian Sanders is that type of weapon. He's not as good in the college game. I think there's still, like I said, I'm going to stand by it. I think he can be just as good in the NFL as Brock Bowers, but he is the second best tight end in college football, no doubt. And he makes a big difference. You saw that difference, guys. You did. When he came out of the game, we didn't have rhythm. It took us till halftime and then coming out to get that rhythm back. We relied on the run game a lot more, and I think that's because we were successful, but also because Jatavian Sanders wasn't in there. I like Gunnar Helm. I think Gunnar Helm's going to be a good player. I think Gunnar Helm probably will get drafted when he does, when he does decide to come out. I think he'll probably end up being like a 4th through 6th round pick, but he's not Jatavian Sanders. He's not that back end 1st round guy that's going to get drafted early 2nd round guy. He's just not. And Jatavian Sanders is special. And if we're missing him, that's a big dynamic in that Oklahoma game. I like Oklahoma's linebackers, Danny Stutzman and Dasan McCullough, but I don't like them in coverage versus Jatavian Sanders. They can cover Gunnar Helm, and that's going to be an issue next week if Jatavian Sanders is missing. So big deal there. I'm really, really, really hoping he comes back. I'm hoping it was more of I can go, but do you need me type of situation, and I can't go. It's a significant injury. It's really bad if you miss the whole season. That's really, really significant. That takes a whole lot of upside off of our offense. I'm just praying Jatavian Sanders is healthy. Next up, the bad play calling. I thought Steve Sarkisian got cued a couple times in this game. There was one play in the first half. He did I think it was a reverse to Xavier Worthy, and you just didn't need to do that. You were moving the ball very easily. We lost 4 to 5 yards on that play, and it kind of set us back. When you're dominating a team at the line of scrimmage, this is the issue with some offensive guys. They just get caught up and they're like, oh, I can do anything. If I call a play, it's going to work. And it's just not. The plays that you were calling before worked, so keep running them. That's the one thing I will always love about watching the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. He could run a play 37 times in a row because it's working. He doesn't give a shit what it looks like. He doesn't matter. He's not going for style points. He's going for the F you. I'm going to run this down your throat, or I'm going to keep calling this play until you can stop it. And that's exactly Steve Sarkisian. I've been saying this for a while. That's the only problem I have with him. He gets too cute sometimes. He wants to do too much. I don't know if he's ever going to change that, because if he does, he eliminates, in my opinion, his biggest weak spot as a play caller. When something's working, like we were running the ball today, when you rush for like 300 yards, keep running the damn ball. Run it down their throat. Run for 500 yards. I don't care if we win the game 24-3. Run it down their freaking throat. They couldn't stop the ball. Keep running it. I think that would have helped in the red zone too early on if you would have just run it. And if you're not going to run it, then hit a play action to a tight end. I thought on that last play call where Quinn Ewers was coming around, I don't know what to think of that. On one hand, I don't mind it because Quinn Ewers has gotten more athletic, but you saw that defensive end almost got there, and he could have hit Quinn, like the announcer was saying, and hurt him. I wasn't really worried about that, because to me, that's more of an IQ test for Quinn. Like if you see that guy barreling down on you, you guys that's not a game-winning play. So don't put your body on the line, slide there, end the game. It doesn't matter. So To me, that's more of an IQ test for Quinn. But the thing is, what I told my parents when I was watching this game with them, if you set up that play, and maybe this is for a play in the future, if you hit play action there and you have a tight end lined up on the left side and he runs around with Quinn there, you could easily hit like an option pitch, or you could wait for him to run to the corner and just loft it over him, because that would be a great play call. And I would not be shocked if Steve Sarkisian is setting that up for next week or in the future, because that would be a great play call, especially with Quinn Ewers. I think you're going to see him take advantage of his mobility more. I know he doesn't really like running quarterbacks, but I think you're going to see him take his advantage of that a little more, because he rushed for 2 touchdowns. He looked mobile. He's gotten more mobile. He's gotten more confidence with that as well. But Steve Sarkisian, just stop being cute. When you're running the ball, run it down their throats. If we're doing that versus Oklahoma next week, run it down their throat. If we're passing versus them very well, which I think is the main concern, honestly, for Oklahoma, I think their front seven's pretty good, then throw it over the top multiple times. Just keep attacking. Keep going to that well. We have enough talent, and Steve Sarkisian is good enough play caller where I think we could run the same play 4 or 5 times in a row if it's executed well enough, and then we could kill most teams. That is another thing I want to talk about, the execution. I think sometimes this team looks like they're just going through the motions. And again, I think the team that's going to beat Texas is Texas. If Texas comes out and runs the plays like they do in practice and runs them full go nonstop, that's the only thing holding this team back. That's the last piece of that puzzle, is running the play that you run in practice full go nonstop and run it that same way in the game. And they just don't do that sometimes. And it kind of looks like on Quinn Ewers, when he throws an interception, it looks like to me like he's just going through the motions. And that's kind of what you saw today. That was a great interception, though, by, I believe, Rich Miller, the linebacker. That was a great interception. Or no, it was Wheeler. Sorry, Wheeler with the interception. It was a great interception. But he had, I believe, Jordan Whittington running a slot fade on the left side, and he had him open. But Quinn Ewers is kind of looked like to me like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, I'm throwing here because that's my first read. It's kind of open. I think I can fit it in there. Quinn needs to be able to dissect more at the line of scrimmage. That I have not been able to see, and that's why I think sometimes he gets those interceptions. Again, he gets lazy, gets lackadaisical. He thinks because it worked in practice, it's going to automatically work in a game, and that's not always the case. Sometimes the defensive throws something at you that you don't see in practice. Most of the time, honestly, you get that. So he's got to be able to adapt better at the line of scrimmage, know what's happening, dissect it. And then if he wants to pre-read it, that's fine. Like if he said, I read this and that's why I went there, that's fine. But I don't think he's seeing it. I think he's saying that was my first read. That's why I went there. And that's not a good enough excuse. It is a good enough excuse. I read this, and then I thought this was going to happen, but they tricked me. Like if you say that, that's fine. But that's not what happened to me. That was my first read. I went there. And that's not good enough. You're going to be a first round talent in the NFL because of your arm. To me, that is the last piece for Quinn. I think Quinn needs to be able to dissect what's happening at the line of scrimmage and then also be able to react on the fly. And he hasn't been great at that. He's gotten better. But he's not where he needs to be, in my opinion, to be that first-round NFL talent. But guys, we're trying to grow this channel, so please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Guys, I want at the end of the year, I'd like 50 people in here. If we get 50 people in here to get my comments coming in, flowing. Today was a crazy day. Auburn and Georgia just had a great game. Georgia Tech. By the way, screw you. I had a lot of money on you, and you lost to Bowling Green. I didn't need Georgia Tech to cover. I needed them to win. They couldn't even beat Bowling Green. They cost me a couple $100. So thank you for that. Anyways, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I'm here every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Texas Tuesdays, breaking down last week's game and then previewing the upcoming game. And I'm here every Saturday after the game, just like today, breaking it down real time, real live. Obviously, I can't go in depth. That's why we're going to talk about this Kansas game for 10, 15 minutes Tuesday so I can rewatch it, dissect, write down notes, what I actually saw. This is just my honest, raw, real reaction as a Texas fan. And guys, if you're going to go over and buy tickets, go to ticketsmarter.com. Use code BIG for $10 off a purchase of $100 or more, or code BIG20 for $20 off a purchase of $300 more. Thank you guys for sticking around. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We'll jump in here real quick again. Texas beats Kansas 40-14. I'll probably go for a couple more minutes. Overall, defense, again, really, really good. It's just the back end. The safety scare me in coverage. And again, I'm going to say this because I said this the last week when Ryan Watts came on the blitz and Michael Taft got beat down the sideline and eventually got for a pass interference. We brought in another cornerback blitz today and they beat us. They didn't beat us as bad, but they beat us on a play. And I don't want to see that anymore. Our safeties are not good enough to cover guys, wide receivers. They're not. Can they cover tight ends occasionally? Yes. Wide receivers are no. So you need to know that and not put them in that position ever again. I'm tired of seeing it. I don't want to see it again. Please stop doing it, Pete Kwiatkowski. Our defense is good enough to where if you just played whatever you want to play, down and down out, we're going to be good enough to stop most of the teams on a roster. Again, if you want to run some stuff versus Oklahoma, that's special, fine. But you don't need to bring our safeties and put them in that position to run wide receivers one-on-one. With our safeties one-on-one with wide receivers. On the offensive side of the ball, it's pretty clear to me that teams are double covering Xavier Worthy. That's why you see A.D. Mitchell constantly play well in these big games versus Kansas, play well in these big games versus Alabama. I expect him to play well versus Oklahoma. I bet Oklahoma brackets Xavier Worthy. And the problem is now, guys, if Jatavian Sanders is hurt, that puts a lot of pressure on A.D. Mitchell. It really does. It puts a lot of pressure on A.D. Mitchell to deliver because our second best weapon's out. Maybe our best. I think he's our biggest mismatch. I think he's the second best player on offense. So I think Xavier Worthy's the best player on offense. I think Jatavian Sanders is the best, but he's the biggest mismatch. And we're gonna have to. It's gonna be hard, guys. It really is. I'm praying that he's in because I don't think Oklahoma has an answer for that guy, and I think he's like the cheat code of this offense. So I'm praying he gets healthy, but Texas overall, pretty good day at the office, 40-14 over Kansas, 661 yards. Kansas had, I believe, barely over 300, maybe not even 300. It might have been a little bit low. It might have been in the 290s, but it wasn't. It was a gigantic difference. It was a 350 to 400 yard difference. So good job by Texas. I can't go much longer, guys. I need more people in here. I need more people in here. So please do that. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Drive people to this channel. I want to talk more football with you guys. I haven't gotten a comment yet. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Join us Texas Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And guys, we are 5-0 heading into the Red River rivalry. What more could you ask for? We just beat either, in my opinion, they're definitely a top 4 team in the conference. I have them as the second best team in the conference, and I hope we can prove that this week when we skull drag OU. So hook them, guys. We're 5-0 for the first time in a long time. And this is OU Hate Week. 49-0. Let's do it again. Thank you, guys.